All right, here we go. This one has some withdrawals at the end, right? So when in there is 40 and it's able to make monthly deposits of 350. His TFSA savings earns 3.25 per annum, that's per year, compounded semi-annually. Determine the value of the savings by the time he turns 67. Did you know that 67 is retirement age? It used to be 65. The government pushed it to 67. And the reason being is that people live longer on average, so they draw out, like CPP, Canadian Pension Plan, is a fund. The government literally takes, from every paycheck, they take off CPP, right? You're gonna see that on your pay stub. Once you turn 18. Before you turn 18, you don't pay CPP. And so you pay into that fund, the government invests it, and that's what they fund your retirement savings for, right? So once you're 67, you get to start withdrawing CPP premium, which is a pension for you. But did you know that the pension you're gonna get from CPP is only a quarter of what your income was leading up to it? It's only a quarter. Maybe 30%. It depends on your income. But please don't think that CPP's got you covered. Like, it's not going to be enough to survive just off of CPP. That's why you need to start saving, guys. Okay? So these questions, these what ifs, I want you to have the tools to be able to say, you know what, I want to have a certain amount in the future, and I'm going to start saving away. Or you're going to say, I can put away $200 every month starting now, right? How much money would I have in the future if I did that, right? Those questions, I want you to be able to figure that out, right? And see how the interest rate, how powerful the interest rate is, okay? I'm going to share a financial advisor, his info with you. If you're interested, he's an older gentleman. That can set you up for investments that are higher than like 3.25 is not very high. Like if you go with a bank, it is not very high, okay? And you want to go long-term investing, so it's okay to risk a little bit more if you go long-term, because you're going to lose some along the way, but you're going to gain it back, right? So overall, you're going to gain more than what you lose, okay? I've invested. I've opened a TFSA, and on average, if you look at that portfolio, it's given 8% interest per year. 8% is pretty good, okay? So I just want you to be aware that this course is much more than just getting the right answer. It's like for you to be financially literate, okay? To be able to have the information you need to save up. All right, so we want the value of this account in the future, right? How much will it accumulate to? So here we go. I will always pause a little bit, at least a little bit, and ask you, could you fill this in a minute or less? So I'm gonna, oh, you need the copies, right? Anybody else need the copies last time? Paper copies? You want to share those donuts later? I'm just kidding. Okay, compounded semi-annually, that means this is 2. Are there payments? Yes, it's asking about monthly deposits, so that's 12. Future values, what we want to know. We're able to make $350 deposits to the bank, so that should be negative. There's no mention of like an initial amount. So this is 3.25. And here we have to do a little bit of math, right? 67 minus 40, that's 27 years, sorry. 27 years. So that'll be 27 times 12, whatever PY is. So it's 324. I'll make a note right away. This is a whole number. So you can use the sum of interest function later on, okay? So that's what you should have. If you solve this, make sure it's set to end. Your future value will be 180,580 and 3 cents. Okay, so make sure you circle, that's my answer. We're good to go. Now it's asking, how much interest will he have earned in the initial 10 years, first 10 years? You have to use the sum of interest for this one, right? If it's just asking you for like the first couple of years, do not use a formula, okay? So we have to use this one. Add up all the interest. That's what sum is, guys. Sum is saying add up all the interest that has been gained from the very first to the 10 times 12 to the 120th deposit. And that is 7,493 and 76 cents. Okay, so that is your answer. And I'm getting questions about the sign, and that is okay. I should have probably emphasized that a bit more. But if you use the sum of interest, you get positive. Why is it positive? Because the bank is paying you that interest, right? They're giving you that interest. So it should be positive when it's an investment. When it is a loan, you pay the interest to the bank, so then it should be negative. But I would just say, make sure that your signs are correct when you enter this, and then you don't really have to worry about the sign that you get here, okay? How much will he have in his account? Like, how much does he have in his account after 10 years? What do I have to use here? Balance. Yeah, balance. How much do you have? So balance, and I think we all know that it's 120, right? It's 10 times 12. And that will be, according to my key, that's 49,493 and 76 cents. That's how much money you have. That's interest and the amount you've put in, right? That's all combined. This is what you can expect to have in 10 years. And this is very accurate, okay? Next, how much has he contributed in the first 10 years? This is principal. This is under investing. This is the principal. And it is really just, the formula that I would have given you is present value plus N times PMT. And so the present value is 0, so you've made 324 payments of 350. And that is $42,000. And I want you to observe something here. In 10 years, you'll have 49,000, right? What is this made up of? The amount you've put in, which is 42,000, plus the interest you've earned. Can you see that if you added these two together, you would get that? I hope you can see that. These two together, the interest and what you've put in, add up to the balance in 10 years. Right? So there's a bit of a connection there. So technically, this amount could have also been arrived to by subtracting these two. If you subtract the interest and what you have in the account, you're left with the principal, which is what you've put in. And if that's too much for you, just stick to the formula, right? And you shall succeed. E, determine the rate of return by the time he turns 67. So rate of return, this one is somewhat tricky because you need to go all the way to age 67. So down here, how much have you put in total? You've put in 324 payments. Where did I get the 324 from? It's N, right? N times the 350. And I don't have a present value, right? This is basically the principal you've put in. There's no present value, it's just 0. The top part, I will do this. Sum of interest from the very first to the very last payment, all of that times 100. It's going to get a little crowded here. The interest that you will have accumulated over the entire investment is this. And 324 payments of 350, that adds up to 113,800. You multiply that by 100, and you get 59.24%. That's for the entire investment. If I just asked you for the rate of return for the 10 years, just the first 10 years, we could have just taken the interest here, divided it by the principal you put in 10 years, times 100, boom, right? But this is the entire investment, so 67, so we had to do a little bit of extra work. Yes? Yes, you're right. But this is still 59.24. Yeah, thank you. This is 400, guys. My bad. Thank you, Leo. And by the way, on a test or an exam, you're not going to have the whole alphabet of questions, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, it's going to be usually A, B, and maybe C, right? So this is a lot, but this is not an exam, so we get to do this. Meninder wonders how much he will be able to withdraw on a bi-weekly basis until the age of 87. So he starts withdrawing at 67. Assume that his savings account still earns the same rate and the compounding periods is the same, etc. So again, I'm going to stop here for a bit and ask you to fill in. And remember, this is still continuing from the previous question, right? Can you fill in these values yourselves? Take a minute or two. Okay, so again, I start at the bottom. So the compounding period is the same. Now we're talking about withdrawing on a regular basis, taking money out on a regular basis, on a bi-weekly basis. And today I'll get this right. It's 26, it's not 52. You're going to start taking money out. So at some point, you're going to run out. It's almost like you're your own bank, like you're borrowing money to yourself. So at some point, you're going to run out. You're wondering how much can you withdraw on a regular basis? The present value is this. So I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. I want you to have the arrow. What you saved up, right, is now going to turn out to be your present value. So it's almost like you have to think of it. You take out your money, your 180,000, and then you put it back. So in this case, it'd be 180,580 and 03. So 3 cents. You're investing that, right? You're putting it back, and then you're going to withdraw money. The interest rate stays the same. And what about N? we're going from 67 to 87. That's 20 years of worth of time, right? So you got to go 20 times 26. And that would be that'd be 520. So let's solve that. 520, interest rate stays the same. Here I have to go negative 180, 580.03. 26 and 2, right? Then you go to payment and figure out the payment, and it's 471 and 47 cents. Okay. So you'll be able to take out $471 every 2 weeks until the age of 87. Okay. Explain and justify why Maninder should consider investing some of his money into the stock market. You can say this: in order to, there's a word that starts with D, I don't know, it's been a while. You're supposed to diversify your investment, right? In order to diversify his portfolio, you can also say in order to earn higher returns, he is still young, which allows for risk, all right? Higher risk. Oops, sorry. So any of these could have been valid justifications there. Okay.